What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we're going to feature another product from Ganzo Firebird. What we've got here is the Ganzo Firebird FH41 flipper folder. This is a newer model from Ganzo Firebird. I'm a little late getting to the race to get my video up on this one because I forgot about this knife, guys. It's a fairly new knife, and Ganzo has already dropped 2 or 3 more designs. You cannot keep up with this budget company. They are just throwing designs at the market. And you know what? They're doing a pretty doggone good job. What we've got here is the FH41. And I think that it is one of the more utilitarian designs that Ganzo has done. Now, let's get this out of the way. I think that this knife was inspired by a couple of other knives, and that is a combination of the Chris Reeves knives Sabenza and the Gareth Bull Chamois. I think this knife has taken design cues from both of those and combined them into a package for what might be the ultimate EDC knife from Ganzo Firebird. And you know what, guys? It's pretty doggone decent. What you're looking at price-wise is $25.99. I priced this and purchased it from Power Cutlery, the only place that I buy Ganzo Firebird. I just don't even look anywhere else, guys. I just wait until Power Cutlery has it, and then I order it. Always great service in the United States, super quick shipping that is flat rate. I think it's $3.70 something no matter how many knives you order. So if you drop, you know, $100 on Ganzo knives and you get 4 or 5 knives, you're still just going to pay that flat rate shipping. That's pretty doggone good. I typically get them in about 3 days from the West Coast, and I'm in East Tennessee. So I've got no issues with that at all, guys. But for $25.99, you are getting a great deal of knife. Now, you guys that know Ganzo, you followed the last year, late 2018, early 2019 with Ganzo Firebird, you know that they have sort of turned over a new leaf, and they're bringing a lot of original designs to the market, where before they did a lot of, let's just say, copies. Okay, they just did, you know, like a Paramilitary 2 copy, and they changed a few things about it, and then they put it out. But it was basically just a Paramilitary 2 copy. And they did that, guys. And you know what? We don't like that in the knife community. We don't like people copying other people. It's intellectual theft, guys. And it does cost money. And I decided a long time ago that as long as Ganzo would go in an original direction with original designs, that I would review their knives, and if they bring out copies, that I would not. Luckily for them, because they're getting free video time here, guys. Let's face it, they don't pay me anything. They're getting free advertisement right here. Lucky for Ganzo Firebird, this is an original internal design. And we'll just go with that, guys. Let's pull in the packaging here. Standard Ganzo Firebird packaging. There is your model number, the FH41 gray. And that's in this sort of slate blue G10. It is also available in the green blue, the greenish G10, and black. All of those have the radius fully machined handle scales. There is also Ganzo's classic G10 carbon fiber laminate that will be flat slab scales, black G10 with a single layer of carbon fiber over it. And they're all for the same price, guys. That's $25.99. Now, inside that packaging, this is a standard box for Ganzo Firebird. The knife is going to come in a bubble wrap pouch. You are going to get the pretty doggone nice Ganzo Firebird microfiber pouch here, much like what you get with a Benchmade knife, guys. So that's not too bad, again, for $25.99. I mean, these guys are doing something right. So let's get rid of that. We're going to go back to the knife now, get the specs out of the way because numbers are boring unless you're a scientist or a mathematician, and Bazon Blades is not. This is a full-size knife. You're looking at a 3.5-inch blade. It's about 87 millimeters. Blade stock thickness, 134 thousandths of an inch or 3.4 millimeters. Your blade width at the widest, 963 thousandths of an inch or 24.5 millimeters. Your handle length is 4.5 inches or 11.5 centimeters. Handle thickness, guys, 528 thousandths of an inch or 13.4 millimeters. Your handle width at the widest point, 978 thousandths of an inch or 24.8 millimeters. Closed width, very good on this knife. It basically, the blade fully nests, and you only have to take into account the flipper tab. So you're at 1.2 inches at the widest point. That's 30.5 millimeters. You've got an overall length of about 8 inches or slightly greater than 20 centimeters. Stop pin diameter, 117 thousandths of an inch, and that's right at 3 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness, again, I always check at 3 spots along the length of the edge, and it averaged out to 18 thousandths of an inch or 0.46 millimeters. Your handle to blade ratio is 77%, which is very good. And your weight, also very good for a 3.5-inch bladed knife at 3.53 ounces or 100 grams. And that is in the 1 ounce per inch of blade length ratio we like to see at a minimum for EDC. Now, the blade steel, guys, D2. Everybody is using D2 now. There is so much D2 out there that there is actually a cult, anti-D2 cult forming that has this mindset that because everybody's using it, it's not good. And you know what, guys? D2 is D2. It's the same thing it's been for decades. It's a World War II era basic tool steel. High carbon, high chromium, it's semi-stainless, high vanadium content, and it's rock weld in the 59 to 62 range. What you get out of D2 at that rock weld is very good edge retention. You get good toughness or impact resistance. It can be a little chippy at higher hardnesses if you grind it too thin or get it too hot doing your post heat treat grinding. Corrosion resistance is decent, guys. It is semi-stainless. It only misses the stainless designator or qualification by 1.5% of chromium. So it's not like a carbon steel, a straight up carbon steel. It won't run away with rust. It will stain, it will rust if you don't take care of it, but care is minimal on D2. After you use it, wipe it down, slap some mineral oil or the lube you use for your pivot or some Tough Glide or anything like that on the blade, guys, and you won't have any issues even living on the coast or in humid areas. If you don't take care of it, it's going to bite you in the ass because it will rust and it will stain. Let's go into the handle materials here, guys. We are G10 scales over inset liners. They are stainless liners. They are weight relieved on the show side, not weight relieved on the lock side. It is a stainless liner lock, guys. You do have stainless small parts, a G10 back spacer here that is very well fit, a stainless fold over pocket clip that we will come back to later in the review. So the materials are very basic, guys. They are not super high-end materials, but they are good materials done very well, guys. Let's go straight into the fit and finish here. Fit and finish, guys. Look at this blade. Look at the grinds. Look at the way the light reflects across the grinds. You don't see a bunch of waviness. You don't see a bunch of dips. You don't see any defects in the grind as far as consistency of grind. Everything is symmetrical, guys. The grind is mirrored on both sides. The finishing is mirrored on both sides. The secondary grind, the edge grind, guys, is well done on both sides. The point is pointy. It is not rounded over. You do have a large sharpening choil here, and it looks like, guys, it does come out past the plunge, or at least to the plunge, so you should be able to resharpen this knife all the way to the termination of the edge here without getting a big smiley face. And if you do get a little flare, this would be very easy to bring out just a little bit, because that's all it would take, guys. Fit and finish on the handle is, guys, it's perfect. The machining is perfect on this handle. There's no rough edges, there's no tooling chatter, there's no unevenness. It's just very, very well done. It's left in the sort of as machined, silky feeling micro texture that we've come to recognize from many, many brands that are now doing sculpted G10. It gives you a smooth surface, but a micro texture for grip, and it's you know what, it's pleasing on G10. It really showcases the layering in G10 and brings out that wood grain look, guys. So let's see here. The back spacer, again, it's very well done, guys. It's not really any nail catch in the fitting of it. I wish they would have done a black back spacer instead of the same color as the scales. But you know what, that's just personal preference. The small parts are all in a machined satin finish, guys. Very well done. Ganzo is still using a two-sided pivot. I wish they would stop. If there was one thing I could wish from Ganzo Firebird, is that they go to a single side adjustable pivot. Please, please, please do that. I don't understand this. I don't know if this hardware is just so much cheaper, but it is twice as hard to tune a pivot when you can adjust from both sides. There's got to be something about that that's more forgiving on lower end knives, because it's a tendency of companies to use these two-sided pivots on lower ended knives. Please, Ganzo, just get away from this. That would be a huge product improvement for very little cost. The finish on the pocket clip is a sort of mirror finish. And again, we're going to touch on something real quick that I do not like about this knife, and that is the pocket clip. The knife itself, fantastic. But this pocket clip is abysmally done, guys. Look very close down here at the butt end, the mount end of the pocket clip. The bend is extremely sloppy, guys. You see how it's a very light radius. It goes into a hard bend right at the tip of my fingernail. Very short distance to come into the flat, the mounting surface, and you can see here, this back screw is not flat, guys. It is not. There is a continuous bend, and it is not flat until it gets way up under this screw. That screw is less effective than it would be. It is clamping down on a surface that is not flat, guys. I think that if your pocket clip looks like this, you're going to find that maybe that screw, you're going to have a hard time keeping it tight. Even using Loctite, guys. Ganzo is going to have to do something with the way they are forming this pocket clip. This looks like somebody stuck it in a clamp and bent it over by hand. That's ridiculous, guys. You can set up a progressive die set to blank and shape this, and you can do this bend and make it beautiful. It's not a big deal. It just takes a little bit of work by your tool and die department to develop the dies, the progression of dies. That needs to be done here with Ganzo. The design of the clip is not bad at all, guys, although I would prefer it to not have so many windows through. Now, this window is necessary because you've got to be able to get to the mounting screws, but this is just cosmetic, and all it does is take strength out of the pocket clip. That's all windows do, besides allowing access and just, you know, a sort of a neato look, guys. But on a $25 knife, I don't need every aspect of the knife to be have crazy design cues. I could do without this, guys, for a stronger pocket clip, and let's work on this, Ganzo, please. So overall, fit and finish, guys, outside of the pocket clip, I see no issue at all, guys. And we're talking about a $25 knife. A $25 knife. And you know what? There's something we haven't talked about yet, and that is action. This knife, like all the FH series, is built on their single row steel bearing pivot system. It's a single row of steel bearings in phosphor bronze cage, and they are super smooth, guys. I mean, uber super smooth. They are, what you see there, resistance, is only lock bar tension. That is it, guys. As far as it goes, if I just take tension off of the lock bar, it's just swing. Oh crap! Maybe I cut myself. It's just swingy, free, guys. Very good feeling bearings, and you start seeing the worth in this knife at the price point. D2 sculpted G10 bearing pivot that is so nice, guys. I did cut myself. Look at that. Bazon blades, you know better than that. A deep carry pocket clip that is, not the best done, but is a deep carry pocket clip for $25, guys. And this action is, it's great, guys. Now, this particular example is from the first release of the FH41. They were using a smaller detent ball, and it does have a weaker detent. Now, they have come back and gone to a larger detent ball, and I just didn't have a chance to grab one of the new batch, guys, because there's so many knives that are coming out right now, spring, summer 2019, and it's just, guys, it's just hard to keep up. You can't buy every little thing unless you're, a super huge channel, and I'm not. So I don't have an example of the bigger detent ball, but I do have this one. And even though the detent is not the stiffest on this, it is still plenty enough to make it a very good flipper. The foundation of what makes it a good flipper, the geometry between the flipper tab, the pivot point, is there in this knife. And guys, it is just a great flipper, and I'm bleeding all over the place. Dadgummit, I'm not stopping this video. Guys, be careful with knives. Let that be an example. Bazon Blades handles knives all day, every day, and he just cut himself live on video. You can always do something stupid like I was doing, just trying to show you guys something, and you cut yourself. So be careful with your knives. Never think you're smarter than your knife, because they're always sharper than you. So the action, guys, is really, really good. The lockup is really, really good on it. The centering, really, really good, guys. Let's see what that lockup is. Look at that. It's early lockup, plenty of room to grow. And I'm just going to keep on bleeding here, guys. Look at that. If I start feeling faint and I pass out, yeah, okay, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of that little bit of blood than it is. But guys, it's very, very good. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what makes this design so good. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said that this was sort of like a crossover between the Sebenza and the Chamois. And it is, guys. It brings a lot of the same handle shape profile, the perimeter profile of the Sebenza. It brings the radius scales of the Chamois. It does borrow this very high flaring flat grind of a drop point from the Chamois. It's much like that blade grind in profile. And they're each just different enough, guys, to where it's not a copy, and then they're combined, two disparate knives, and into this. But what you've got is those knives are great utility knives. And there's a reason that you might want to design a knife that is based on those designs. If you're going to take inspiration from something, it may as well be something great, and both of those designs are pretty doggone good. This drop point blade with basically a full flat grind, guys, 18 thousandths behind the edge, a nice piercing point without being too thin at the point. What are you not going to do with this blade? It's going to be slicey and cutty. 18 thousandths behind the edge is plenty thick enough for strength, but it's plenty thin enough to be slicey. Full flat grind, guys, barely any resistance coming across this blade. And remember, the blade stock thickness is just 3.4 millimeters, guys, so it's not super thick. You got a good sharpening choil here. You've got a decent set of jimping here. I wish it was maybe, an eighth of an inch longer, or, maybe 4 millimeters longer, or whatever that is in standard, eighth of an inch to quarter of an inch longer, maybe. But it's good. It's actually good jimping, and it does hold your hand, guys. Your skin, it is cut where you can push flesh down into that jimping, and it does work, guys. There you go. The handle design itself is just wide open. It's everything that the Sebenza and the Chamois is, guys. They're very basic handle designs, very wide open. They do feature a finger choil for retention. And, then this has got the radius scales for comfort. Everything is rounded, guys. The radiuses on the sculpting, the parameter, the profile of the blade are soft enough to where there's no hot spots, guys. Everything's relieved. Even the inside of the scale is slightly relieved, guys. You can see that there. It's not even sharp on the inside. Something that these earlier G10 FH models suffered from, like the FH11. It wasn't relieved on the inside edge and could be a little hot spotty for certain people. Guys, this knife is just fabulous in the hand, in a forward grip, in a reverse grip. You could use it in a draw grip, although flippers are not my favorite for a draw grip because you've got that flipper tab you're going to dig into the meat of your hand in between your thumb and first finger. But it's, guys, it's just very utilitarian. It's just obviously utilitarian. You look at this knife and you don't think tactical, you don't think fighting knife, you don't think anything but, okay, that's an EDC knife right there. That's a utility knife. I can do some work with that knife, and that is the magic in this design, and getting that to you with D2, with the bearing pivot, with the sculpted G10, with the fantastic fit and finish, guys, at $25 is, it just makes it an outstanding offering on the market. Much of these, or many of these newer Ganzo Firebirds are. Now let's do a very quick size comparison. We will bring in the standard for size comparison, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and you can see they are basically the same size. And then we're going to bring in what is still my favorite of the Ganzo Firebird FH series knives, and that is the FH41. You can see, guys, look at that. All of these knives fall right into that perfect EDC sort of size range, that 3 to 3.5 inch blade with a full size handle that you can really grip onto and do some work. It's enough blade to actually do some work. It's still a fairly narrow design, guys, so it's easy to carry deep with this deep carry pocket clip, and decent flipping action. The newer models are supposed to be improved beyond this. You know what, guys? It's just a great knife. So, in the end, is Bazon Blades going to recommend this knife? He is going to recommend the FH41. I do wish that Ganzo would improve the forming on this pocket clip, guys. That is just standing way too far off of the body. It's just sloppy forming, and this knife deserves a little bit better than that. All right, guys, so Ganzo Firebird FH41, it's a home run as far as the budget arena at the $25 price point. I'm still very happy to see Ganzo Firebird going off in original designs, even though this sort of does pay. It's inspired by a couple of different designs, guys. It's not a copy of either one of them, and therefore I'm going to say it's an original design. Just taking the best of some designs that are out there. All right, guys, as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.